Well, President Trump is now leading President Biden in a new Quinnipiac poll for the first time since February. President Trump pulling ahead by 2 points among registered voters, though they're essentially tied when factoring in the poll's margin of error. But most voters are frustrated with the current candidates and also the front runners. 52% say they want new names to enter the race. So let's talk about this with national political reporter for The Hill, Julia Manchester. Julia, if we could, let's start with the fact that President Trump now has the numerical edge here. I mean, in almost every category, hypothetical matchup, with the exception of independents being split in their support for Biden and Trump 44 to 44. President Biden had been ahead in this poll for much of the year. Why now? And what else does that tell you, Julia?
Well, Markie, this isn't the only poll where we've seen Trump take the lead over Biden. There was a New York Times Santa College poll released last week showing Trump leading Biden in a number of key swing states. And then on top of that, there was also a national CNN poll that showed Trump leading Biden. So this poll is definitely going along with the trend we've seen with the other polls. Look, I think there are a number of factors at play. Number one, I think the economy is playing into this. We've seen the White House try to message on various economic indicators, including consumer confidence and unemployment going down. However, Americans are still feeling pain in their pocketbooks when they go to the grocery store, when they go to fill up their gas tank or go to get goods and services because inflation is still so high. And then I think another factor contributing to this is not necessarily Trump, surging ahead of Biden, but, Biden essentially seeing a depression with his own base. I don't think Democrats in general are very excited about Joe Biden. They're not very enthusiastic. And that's also shown in this poll where you see a sizable amount of Democrats saying they'd want to see a third party candidate as well.
Yeah. Also, according to this poll, President Biden's foreign policy numbers, languish. We'll get to that in just a second, too. The other headliner to this poll was that 52% of respondents want new blood in the race. There's a major split along party lines when it comes to this. And when it comes to voters who are not satisfied with the current field, just 29% of Republicans want new candidates. That's compared to 58% of Democrats, 72% of independents. But President Biden's team has been quick, Julia, to dismiss any questions of him stepping aside for another candidate. Do you see that stance changing between now and next November?
It's hard to say because, as you very well know, Markie, there's been so many twists and turns in the news cycle. There's so many factors at play. As for now, I think Joe Biden is very much the presumed nominee. It doesn't seem like there's any, obviously, plans for that to change. However, I would say that going into the primary cycle, it'll be interesting to see, what Dean Phillips, his primary challenger, what support he's able to garner going forward. We know that he's very much not seen as someone who's a major challenge to Biden, but he's emblematic of the depression I think a lot of Democratic voters here feel right now, or a lack of enthusiasm. There's a saying called, Republicans fall in line, Democrats fall in love. I think in this poll, you're seeing Republicans fall in line behind Trump and then not falling in love with Biden.
Yeah. But I mean, let's be honest, though, with less than 2 months before the primaries beginning with the Iowa caucuses on January 15, time's ticking. I mean, even if people want new names in this race, what's the likelihood that voters get their wish in seeing those new faces?
That's a very good question because we know that candidates on the Republican side, like Nikki Haley, who announced in February, Ron DeSantis, who announced in May, they've already created this apparatus. Donald Trump announced last November. They've created this campaign apparatus, have very much communicated with the bases in, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. For the Democratic side, I think there's a bit of an opening in New Hampshire because we know that President Biden won't be on the ticket in New Hampshire. There's been a write-in effort to get him on the ballot there. But a lot of that has to do with internal fighting within the Democratic National Committee's calendar. So I think, there's some leeway there. But I think a lot of these candidates aren't necessarily posing a direct threat to Biden in the primary. It's the general election and that whether they contribute to the lack of enthusiasm.
Yeah, it seems like neither of these men have even a close second when it comes to possible candidates. You and I have talked a lot about double doubters, the people who don't like either of them. Will be fascinating to see how that manifests itself in the primaries and also next November. Julia Manchester, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.